And welcome back once again for Game 2 of this doubleheader on Saturday afternoon as the Wareham Gatemen once again visiting the Harwich Mariners. Mariners getting the best of the Gatemen. Game 1 by a final score of 2 to nothing on a complete game shutout from Jacob Polish. And as we head into Game 2, the starting pitcher for the Mariners, it's an interesting name to say the least, and it's Joe Boyle, the closer for most of the season. And Tyler, should be very interesting to see how far Boyle goes, but also what his approach is as a starter.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen guys that have come into, from a bullpen, they come in to start and they kind of start pulling things. And you can't do that. When I say pulling, I mean just decreasing the speed on the fastball. You can't do that if you're Joe Boyle. He is a two-pitch pitcher, a dominant fastball that's going to come in between 97 and 99 miles an hour, and he matches it up with a changeup that drops about 15 miles an hour off of that. So as long as he brings the heat and pitches the same way he would in a closing situation, I think he's going to be great, and he can get a couple good innings. And, of course, I mean, you have the chance to bring in Will Heflin potentially, who has already gone deep into a couple of different games. So we'll see how they use the bullpen and how they use Joe Boyle. But I like the move from Coach Englert. He's hungry to get a win here against Wareham. And one more note really quickly, Colin. How about this? Harwich right now is 5-1 in games that have gone under the regulation 9 innings. Wareham is 0-5. So these two teams play very differently in shortened games.
Mariners looking to make it a clean sweep on this Saturday afternoon of action. Boyle will get the start. And first three batters he will face is Braden Ward, Darren Baker, and Jacob Teeter, the same three that led off Game 1, and they went a combined 2 of 9 with 6 strikeouts. Braden Ward, the leadoff man, going 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts, so he will look for redemption in Game number 2 as he digs in for the Gatemen. Boyle, big righty out of Notre Dame, working from the stretch. He'll have Rothenberg as his catcher, who ended up finishing the second game since Pat Winkle left, had to go get stitches. And the first pitch from Boyle is a heater right over for strike one, and we're underway.
So Boyle coming right at him with a fastball. He's going to attack early on here, not wasting any time at all. And finally across the league, more Cape League action getting underway. This Game 2 of the doubleheader starts.
That's a ball outside, 1-1, and Ward was 6 of his last 6 coming into the game, or coming into today, and now 6 of his last 9, so still a pretty good batting average over that stretch, and takes a pitch outside to make it 2-1. And we documented his speed earlier in the first game, 12 steals coming into this one. So when he does get on base paths, it can be a nightmare for opposing pitchers. 2-1, that one is at the top of the strike zone for a second strike, 2-2. A little bit of fog moving in just beyond the outfield fences, and the wind picking up as well. 2-2, that's outside to fill the count.
And Boyle definitely not pulling any punches here, but he's worked himself into a full count, so going to have to bounce back with a good pitch. He has been obviously the most dominant arm out of the Harwich pen this year, and funny that for a guy who was worried about his location, he has looked pretty good with the accuracy so far.
Payoff pitch misses low in the dirt for ball 4, and that will put the leadoff man Ward on via a walk, and always a threat to steal. And so in steps Darren Baker, who went 1 for 3 with a stolen base in game number 1.
Yeah, and that's just the first walk of the year given up by Joe Boyle, coming in with a perfect ERA, a pair of saves for him as the team's closer, and 10 strikeouts to now 1 walk. He's also only allowed the 1 hit, so Braden Ward's actually the second guy on the entire season who's reached base on Joe Boyle this year.
Ward with a decent lead off of first. He's going to go. The throw down from Rothenberg is well wide, and that is steal number 13 of the season for Braden Ward. And the Gatemen have a runner in scoring position with nobody out in the first.
Yeah, not a terrible throw by Rothenberg as far as the distance or the speed. Just couldn't get it on the right side of the bag, and that allows Ward to move up into scoring position. So the other interesting thing about that last game is while there were 6 guys that reached base for the Wareham Gatemen, nobody was able to come any further than second.
So Baker, the man in scoring position, now in an 0-1 count. A huge jump and stepping off Boyle, now a run down, backing up is Ward, still backing up, the throw over and running him down is Hughes. A diving tag, and he got him. Hal Hughes laying out to make the tag, and much like we saw from the Mariners, some bad base running from the Gateman in game number 2.
Well, you could see, I mean, Ward clearly trying to exploit Joe Boyle out there, as he's not used to pitching in this situation, but he's able to hop off the mound and toss that one over. And how about the speed from Hal Hughes? I mean, he ran him down like an offensive back, and he's able to come in with a tackle and put Braden Ward away for the first out of the game.
So that empties the bases, and the 0-1 to Baker is swung on and missed for strike 2, and now Boyle starting to show some confidence after that leadoff walk, getting a big out, some help from his defense.
And you got to think that's a massive confidence boost for Boyle, as now the bases are completely empty and he can just focus up on going to work on Darren Baker.
0-2 just misses. Jacob Teeter, the first baseman on deck, is this Gateman lineup looking pretty similar to the first game. A couple of subtle changes. 1-2's a changeup in there for a called strike 3, and Boyle, with some nice off-speed, retires Baker for out number 2.
Yeah, that'll bring Jacob Teeter up, and it's got to feel good for Joe Boyle to finally be anchored down somewhere, no pun intended, here with the Harwich Mariners in the Cape League. He bounced around last summer to 3 different teams. He spent a little bit of time with the Katuitt Kettleers. He went up to the Northwoods League with the Kalamazoo Growlers, and also spent some time with the Martinsville Mariners in the Coastal Plains League, so finally getting some consistency here in the summer of 2019, and here he will fire in a fastball that's fouled back to the screen by Teeter for the first strike.
Got that one fouled back in Teeter in game 1 of 3 with a single in that top of the 6th. The 0-1 a check swing, and he did in fact swing, so now the count 0-2 is Boyle really zoning in right now. Gateman scoring 15 runs yesterday, but shut out in the first game of this doubleheader.
May have used them all up.
Check swing, and he did go around for strike 3, so Joe Boyle with a pair of strikeouts in the first inning in his first start of the season. And after half an inning, we are scoreless from White House Field. The Mariners will get their first up coming up next. Back at White House Field as the Harwich Mariners get a scoreless first out of Joe Boyle. That's now 8 scoreless innings so far today against Wareham, and it'll be the Mariners lineup. Leading things off will be Dylan Noisy, the center fielder. Batting second, playing left, is Joey Weimer. Right fielder Daniel Cabrera bats third. Christian Fedko will bat cleanup, and this time he's in the field at second base. Nico Cavadas goes from third to first. He'll bat fifth. Mike Ludwig enters the game for the first time today. He will DH and bat 6th. Mike Rothenberg catching, batting 7th. Tyler Keenan gets his first appearance at third, batting 8th. And Hal Hughes also with his first appearance today, batting 9th and playing shortstop. And on the mound for the Wareham Gatemen is Michael Webb out of Rhode Island College.
Yep, Michael Webb is not quite the same kind of pitcher as Joe Boyle, and the one biggest glaring difference between the two is purely their height. Webb comes in at 5'9". Boyle comes in almost a foot taller at 6. Actually, yeah, almost a foot taller at 6'7". So, it'd be fun to see the two of them take a picture after this game is over. Just kind of see that side by side. But Webb, a pretty good pitcher in his own right this season. He's put strung together an impressive 2019 campaign. When you take a look at his body of work so far this season, a 3.0 ERA through 2 games, just 3 innings pitched though. So another guy that hasn't typically been used as a starter.
So Dylan Noisy, the leadoff man, batting. He was in the 2-hole in game number 1, going 0 for 2 with a walk. He was also caught stealing, and that was in his first plate appearance. Webb working from the windup, and he blows a fastball by Noisy for strike 1.
Yeah, pretty good velocity on the fastball out of Webb here early, so we'll see what he has to offer in terms of other pitches.
0-1 goes all the way to the backstop, and Webb's been pretty solid with a 3 ERA in 2 games. This is his first start. He's only gone 3 innings, giving up the lone earned run on 3 hits. Here's the 1-1. It's a high fly ball out towards right. That one sends Rudick all the way back, but he's able to make the catch for out number 1.
So that'll bring a guy up who was tearing the cover off the ball in game 1. It's Joey Weimer, and he went 2 for 2. That third at bat, he was actually intentionally walked, and it ended up working as they were able to get Nico Cavadas to strike out.
So Weimer, who was taken off the base pass a couple of times, batting cleanup in the first game, reached base all 3 times, but again was caught stealing a couple of times, and first pitch he sees is in at the knees for a strike. Weimer in left for this one, as he's actually over in right, somewhere he hasn't been playing a lot this year. Count even at 1-1.
Yeah, he came into this doubleheader hitting .294, so that's shot well above .300 in the last couple of bats. Trying to maintain that and help the Mariners get a runner on base here with 1 out.
1-1 is on the outside corner for a strike.
And some guys you see when they take their step right before they swing, some guys have a smaller step. Joey Weimer takes a massive step, takes his foot completely off the ground, lifts that sucker up all the way, and then he's ready to turn on a pitch.
1-2, a broken bat flare into left field for a base hit, as that ball somehow gets past the dive of McLean and the lunge of Sems, and it's going to be a 1-out single for Joey Weimer.
Yep, Weimer today is now 3 for 3, and we'll see if he can continue to have an impact now on the base pass, but he'll have to be careful. As you mentioned, he was picked off twice, and now a new bat into the lineup today. It'll be Daniel Cabrera.
Cabrera was used as a pinch runner in the last game. He ran for Christian Fedko after Fedko reached on a double in the 6th, but he was stranded at third as what would have been an insurance run, but an unnecessary one, as Jacob Polish was able to complete the complete game shutout. First pitch to the LSU Tiger misses high. Webb out of Rhode Island College, a small school, not too far from here. I believe he's the only New England native on this roster, as there's a line drive out to right field. That will get down for a base hit. So back-to-back 1-out singles have the Mariners cooking, with the cleanup man Christian Fedko coming to the plate.
Yeah, the offense just continues to roll on for the Mariners, and this is a perfect situation for Christian Fedko to come up and hit it in. Right when we thought he might have been slowing down after a hot game just a couple days ago, he comes in and gets a hit back in the 6th inning. So looking to continue that here, as he had the double, or a double with 1 away in the 6th about 30 minutes ago. Let's see if he can do it again here in the 1st.
So Fedko been on quite the hitting streak as of late. He's also been driving in a ton of runs. He'll get an opportunity here, as the last time that Christian Fedko was out a hit was at least a week ago, as that pitch is in there for a strike. Hasn't had a lot of time off either. He's been playing in a ton of games, but of course you mentioned that injury did keep him out for a stretch, and ever since he's come back from the injury, he's just been tearing the cover off the ball. The 0-1. That's in the dirt, and it scoots away. Hesitation by Weimer at second, and probably a good idea not to go, as that ball kind of kicked and gave Del Castillo an opportunity to throw him out.
Yeah, it looked like he was going to lose that ball, but as you mentioned, as he turned, he actually knocked it out into view, and he would have had Weimer dead to rights. So Weimer doing a good job being a little less aggressive out there, but with 1 away, he is in scoring position, and the Mariners looking to jump out early once again, something they've done in 5 of their last 6 games.
The 1-1 misses low. Fedko, one of 2 players for the Mariners out of the University of Connecticut, the other being Pat Winkle. Good 2.5 hours away in Storrs, Connecticut. The 2-1. It's a line drive out towards left center field. Over to make the catch is Ward. Tagging up is Weimer, an aggressive move, and he's in safely to third with 2 away.
And I don't think they even realized Sems was there to cut it off, but he didn't have another choice as Ward threw it in kind of lazily, and all Weimer had to do was take off towards third. If they had really looked up and seen it, they might have tried to pick him off. You look at Weimer out there right now, his jersey is just covered in dirt from head to toe. He will need pretty good washing after this one, but it's been the effort that he's extended, and now he's moved up 90 feet away with 2 outs for Nico Cavadas.
Jacob Teeter, the first baseman, was actually looking for an appeal at second, thinking that Weimer had left early on the sacrifice tag up, but umpire ruling that it was a clean play, and now it's runners to the corners for Cavadas. First pitch misses high.
We've seen some pretty good speed out of Daniel Cabrera this year, which is a little strange because, again, Harwich has used him a lot more aggressively than LSU did a year ago at the University of Louisiana State. He had 3 stolen bases, or 1 stolen base.
And Cavadas fouls one right back.
I think that came off the helmet of Del Castillo, if I'm not mistaken, and then right back to us. So that's got to feel a little rough.
Sure, Pat Winkle can relate after taking a ball up high and having to exit the first game of this doubleheader. Mariners looking to strike first once again. They did all their damage in the second inning in the first game. The runner going, and Cavadas swings and hits this ball pretty well out towards left center field. Going back at the track, the wall, it's gone! A 3-run home run for Nico Cavadas, and the Mariners take a 3-0 lead early in the first.
And Nico Cavadas now the first guy on the Harwich roster to have a multiple home runs, and it's an absolute moonshot. A 3-run bomb out to left center field, and you know, it feels like Cavadas has gotten a hold of a couple of those, but every time he does, he takes it out to straightaway center field. He finally pulls around on one, and it's going to be a 3-0 lead here to start the game for the Harwich Mariners.
That ball just kept carrying, and it flew over Antico's head in left field and cleared the yellow line right by the light post. So with the bases empty, Mike Ludwig swings the first pitch he sees this afternoon, and it will roll foul, but a huge hit by Cavadas, and now the Mariners are in position to where they can get some good pitching. They'll be able to sweep this doubleheader.
You mentioned this is Ludwig's first at bat, a completely different lineup here for the Mariners than what they had in Game 1, which is interesting because Wareham is pretty much throwing the same guys out there. The only differences are Matthew Rudick is in place of Tora Atsuka in right field, but aside from that, the same 8 guys in the top of the order, as this one is going to be just outside for a called ball. But for the Mariners, seeing a lot of new faces. Daniel Cabrera is in the lineup, a lot of defensive shifts. Mike Ludwig is in there, and Tyler Keenan and Hal Hughes coming in for their first action today.
1-1 hit on the ground to second. Baker fielding it from the side. The throw is in plenty of time to retire the side, but from one swing of the bat by Nico Cavadas, the Mariners jump out on top 3-0 after 1 inning. You're watching Harwich Mariners Baseball on the Mariners YouTube network. Top of the second from White House Field in game number 2 of this doubleheader between the Wareham Gatemen and the Harwich Mariners. And the Mariners, after winning the first game 2-0, have already eclipsed their run total in 1 inning in game number 2 as Nico Cavadas with a big swing and a 3-run home run to left field to cap off a big first inning for the Harwich Mariners.
Well, and this kind of feels like that first doubleheader that was here at White House Field against the Falmouth Commodores earlier this season. Harwich was able to get a low-scoring victory, 1-0 in Game 1, and then an offensive outburst allowed them to win the second game 7-1. So just one total run for Falmouth that day.
First pitch by Joe Boyle is in there for a strike to Adrian Del Castillo, and Boyle has been pretty much used to just going one inning. He's already in the second inning of work, as that one's in there for strike 2. I believe he's only gone more than one inning once, so we'll have to see if they stretch it to even further if he gets through this inning cleanly. 0-2 is just off the outside part of the plate. Del Castillo with a 5 RBI game yesterday, including a grand slam, but 0 for 3 in Game 1, and he swings and fouls that pitch back into the left.
So a couple results to pass along, actually just one result, but in another doubleheader, the Bourne Braves lose to the Hyannis Harbor Hawks 6-4. It's the 4th Hyannis win of the year. So Game 2 of that one is getting underway here in a bit, and Hyannis trying to close the distance. This changeup will miss high. They're only now 5 points behind the Bourne Braves. Another win would put them 3 points back.
It looks like Bourne has 2 less games played, so Bourne does have the opportunity to maybe extend that lead when they get those games done. There's a fly ball out towards shallow right center, and going back actually to end up making the catch is Dylan Noisy for out number 1.
So pretty routine play there for Noisy, and that will bring up Matt McLean, third baseman, who was in during Game 1. He went 0 for 3, a line out, a strikeout, and a fly out.
McLean back at third base, batting 5th instead of 6th. And the UCLA Bruin will face Boyle. First pitch he sees is on the outside corner. Gateman at 11-9-1 now on the season. Currently still good enough for first in the East, but Katuitt can maybe close the gap. And we got a foul tip, and it catches the umpire in a very tough spot, and he is shaken up.
It's back-to-back days that we've seen that now.
He's
so
doubled over in pain.
And hopefully he'll be able to bounce back. And actually, Wareham has currently got Katuitt breathing down their neck, as those two teams are only separated by 1 point, and then Falmouth is a few points behind them. It's weird how Point Streak does it, because this is a league that does go based off of the point system. You get 2 for a win, you get 1 for a tie, and none for a loss. So technically, if you're talking about playoff standings, it would be Katuitt in second at 22, Falmouth in third at 19. But the one I'm keeping an eye on right now is the East, which currently sees Harwich just 3 points behind Brewster. And again, it's going to depend on a lot of things, but if Harwich can pull off a sweep against Wareham here, and Brewster can find a way to take a loss today, as they'll be taking on the Falmouth Commodores, Harwich finds themselves 1 point behind the Whitecaps and right back in things for playoff contention, which is a lot better than they were about a week ago during that 4-game skid.
Yep, standings definitely something to watch as we get later and later in the season. Those every single point really mattering, so can't really afford to lose some of these close games down the stretch, especially if you're a team towards the bottom like Harwich. And right now they're on the right track with the win in Game 1 and now a 3-0 lead to start Game 2. As still waiting to resume play here, and we're hoping that the home plate umpire is doing all right.
Yep, I believe that's Bob Del Point, so just taking a minute to think things over, and man, it's just been a brutal couple of days here for umpires at White House Field.
And also for catchers as well on foul balls that kind of come back. It seems like these foul tips are just catching players in a tough spot. As I remember yesterday with Bourne, we had a similar situation as the one with Pat Winkle, where catcher Henry Davis took a ball right to the inside of his leg, and he shook him up a little bit. Thankfully he was all right, and after a long discussion, it looks like we are gonna hopefully resume play soon. But as of right now, it is an 0-2 count to Matt McLean with 1 out in the inning.
And actually, it's Rick Emerson looking at the rotation. Emerson moved from third to home plate. Vicente Medina moved over to first, and Bob Del Point slid over to third. So those are your 3 umpires for this game.
It looks like we got some ice for him here, and Now we got kind of the infielders coming in. With this delay, we'll actually take a quick timeout. Once again, 3-0 is your score. The Mariners leading Wareham, and once again, you are watching Harwich Mariners baseball on the Mariners YouTube network. Welcome back to White House Field. Still in an injury delay here at White House Field. The Mariners lead 3-0 as we're still in the top of the second with an 0-2 count and one away, and the base is empty. And Tyler, while we have this time, we should just talk about really what a great start that was from Jacob Polish earlier today. For those who are just joining us, I mean, 7 innings, just 6 hits, and he struck out 10 batters in a complete game shutout, the first of the season in the Cape League, and boy, was that a much-needed game out of Jacob Polish for the Harwich Mariners.
Well, and especially because the one thing we've talked about is Harwich needing to find more starting pitching. And we know Polish is one of those guys that is kind of a go-to for the Harwich Mariners, but for him to come out and pitch as dominant as he was in that game, that is a big confidence boost, because now you're in a position where you throw Seckler as your number 1, you throw Polish as your number 2, you find a couple more guys, you're basically set. I mean, they still have a little bit of searching to do. Will it be Nick Swalk? Will it be a guy like Cam Bauman? I think Cam Bauman and Will Heflin are 2 guys I would like to see them experiment maybe with starting. But, whoever it ends up being, you've got that number 2 guy back, and that's something that Harwich didn't necessarily have locked down after Logan Allen departed. So that feels a lot better, and an incredible performance out of him against a Wareham lineup that put up 15 runs on Orleans yesterday, the team with the lowest pitching ERA in the league. Harwich able to hold them to 0 runs on just 6 hits.
And we've also talked about how the Mariners have been so good this season against the West compared to the East. 8-5 against the West, just 1-7 against the East. Tyler, the success against the West obviously isn't going to help the Mariners come playoff time if they're able to qualify, but it's definitely one positive thing you can take when you're in the basement right now. I know it's still early in the season, but it's clear that the Mariners can get it done against Western Conference teams. What do they need to do kind of to transfer that energy towards Eastern Division games?
I mean, they are in the basement, but they've shortened up the staircase a little bit. I mean, they're currently sitting 3 points behind a Brewster team that is facing off against Falmouth today. So they put themselves in a good position, and you have to keep taking advantage of games where you have the upper hand. And for whatever reason, it seems like that's been the games against the West this year. You mentioned Harwich coming into this game at 8-5 against the West. They're also 6-5 when they play games here at White House Field. So, sooner or later, it's just going to have to be about going out and hitting. I know the East is very good, but even dating back to last year, it's been a struggle against the Eastern teams. They've beaten 2 of their last 17 Eastern opponents, both of which came against Brewster. And then they're also going to have to get a little bit lucky because, it is still a long season, but you have to hold out hope that Brewster just can't keep up. At this point, it looks like they're going to have to be the scapegoat, and it may very well come down to those 2 teams as to who misses the playoffs come August.
And we're talking about the playoff picture here. Once again, if you're just joining us, we're in an injury delay at White House Field. The Mariners with a 3-0 lead over the Wareham Gatemen in Game 2 of this doubleheader. And Tyler, what have you seen so far in terms of all the teams in the East? Well, let's take a look at the East right now, actually. And you got 4 teams, everyone except for Harwich right now, with double-digit wins. Of course, Harwich can change that if they're able to win this second game. But you got a log jam up there. Who do you like right now in the East in terms of what you've seen this season? Which of the 5 teams right now in the East has shown the most talent out of all of them?
I mean, I don't think it's one team. I think it's 2. You've got YD sitting in second right now, but I look at the offensive numbers that they're putting up, and it's just not sustainable at any level of baseball. I don't care if that's what these guys were hitting in Little League. You can't maintain having that many guys hitting this hot, even 21 games into the season. So the 2 teams that I'm looking at are Chatham and Orleans, and the reason I'll give you is it's the pitching. The pitching has been fantastic for both of those teams. They have 2 of the best 4-team ERAs in the league, and on top of that, they have the offense to go along with it. Top to bottom, they have incredible lineups in terms of the Eastern Division. Wareham is obviously the favorite in the West, but similar to what we've seen out of YD, and they put the whole thing together. I think they're the 2 favorites to get out of the East, but anything can happen. I mean, last year that Brewster team came in, they had a losing record, they weren't looking good, but they got a sweep to end the season, they made the playoffs, and then they knocked off YD. In the best of 3 series, anything can happen.
And you mentioned Wareham right now, the favorite in the West, as they currently lead in the West, but having some tough times with Harwich today, as after losing the first game and trailing right now in game number 2. But out of the other 4 teams in the West, which do you think have the best chances of taking that division lead from the Gatemen?
I mean, if I'm being honest, it has to be Katuitt. I'm still not completely sold on Falmouth. They've been a very up and down team this year, but that Katuitt team is really good. The offense, again, 1 through 9, they've got power. I think in the first, what was it, the first 2 weeks of the season, they had hit something like 12 home runs. I mean,
Right.
they had just been dropping bombs at Lowell Park. And then the pitching is solid for them as well. You look at, the rotation that they've put out there, they've got some of the better starting pitching in the league. So, again, I'm not completely sold on Falmouth, and let's just be perfectly honest, Bourne and Hyannis both wouldn't be playoff teams in the East if they had dropped into that division. So clearly it's not those guys. I'd say your 4 teams to watch right now are Chatham, Orleans, Wareham, and Katuitt. But come playoff time, again, anything can happen. And keep in mind, we're not even halfway through the season until this game goes final, so still 22 games left to play. It'll be very interesting to see what that playoff picture looks like come July 31st.
And of course, here in the Cape League, it's not exactly the same as Major League Baseball, whereas if you don't win the division or at least finish second, you're kind of in trouble. It's just, if you don't finish last, you make the playoffs. So the big brace right now is to stay out of that basement. And so once again, we are in an injury delay at White House Field. The Mariners lead it 3-0 over the Wareham Gatemen. We'll take another quick break, and hopefully we will be resuming baseball soon. Once again, you're watching Harwich Mariners Baseball on the Mariners YouTube network.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to White House Field, where we are in an umpire injury delay. Colin Casey, my broadcast partner all season long, and maybe one of the most encyclopedia-like brains about the MLB. So I have pulled up here an MLB quiz, a little trivia for you. We're going to see how you do. So let's just hit you with these questions, rapid fire. Who was the first major leaguer to have his number retired? Was it Ty Cobb, Jackie Robinson, Babe Ruth, or Lou Gehrig?
Well, I don't believe Ty Cobb wore a number, so I don't think it's him. And you said Ruth
Gehrig, or Robinson?
Robinson, okay. I think I'm going to go with George Herman Ruth.
Okay. That is incorrect. It was actually Lou Gehrig who had his number retired in 1939.
Ah, okay. You know what? I think a lot of that might have had to do with the way that his career ended. I think they retired his number immediately after that speech, which actually was 80 years ago to the day on the 4th of July, as we mentioned on the broadcast. So, yep, those guys from Murderers Row, the first time they actually started using lineups or numbers in the lineup because of the way that they had things set up, because they had it like in their order. So, Ruth was 3, Gehrig was 4th. They hit 3-4 in the lineup.
So, which of the following players did not win a Cy Young Award in their career? There's only one. Was it Don Drysdale, Nolan Ryan, Catfish shot? Nolan Ryan, really quickly, didn't even need the other two, and that is correct.
Yeah, despite having such a long and talented career, I know that Nolan Ryan, despite putting up some pretty astronomical numbers, he just never had that one season where he was above everybody else.
Do you know how many no-hitters he threw in his career? Bonus question.
Was it 9?
It was 7. But it was a lot. I mean, that was a ridiculous number. Whose baseball cards sold for $3.12 million at auction in 2016? Was
Honus Wagner?
It was, Honus Wagner.
Yep.
That one is a pretty easy one. Who holds the Major League record with a whopping 59 consecutive scoreless innings pitched?
Is it Clayton Kershaw?
He's not on here, so I'll
Okay.
give you your options. It's either Oral Hershiser, Greg Maddux, Pedro Martinez, or Steve Carlton.
I think it's Greg Maddux.
Greg Maddux? You are incorrect. It was actually Oral Hershiser.
Okay, so I was on the right track with the Dodgers. I couldn't remember if it was Kershaw or I probably should have stuck with my gut on that one, and that was the Dodger Hershiser.
Zach Greinke, of course, came close with 45
That's
and 2/3
right.
back in 2015, but came up just short of the record. Which player has appeared in the most World Series games? Mickey Mantle, Pee Wee Reese, Derek Jeter, or Yogi Berra?
Let's see. I mean, Jeter won 4, I believe, in his career. Actually, it might have been 5, because I think they won the one in 96, 98. Jeter was in a lot because they also went to the World Series in 03. But Yogi Berra was around for a lot of good teams. I'm going to go with Yogi Berra.
It is correct. It is Yogi Berra,
Yep.
who is befitting a man who won 10 World Series titles
Right.
as a player and 3 more as a manager. Yogi has 75 World Series games played and 10 more than second place Mickey Mantle. Which U.S. president was the first to throw out a ceremonial first pitch on opening day? Was it Teddy Roosevelt, Dwight Eisenhower, John F. Kennedy, or William Howard
I
Taft?
believe it was William Howard Taft.
The fact that you know this is absurd. Yes,
Yep.
it was William Howard Taft. April 14th, 1910
Yep.
was when that one
He
happened.
was a big baseball fan, from what I've heard. So a lot of these presidents are. I mean, George Bush was a part-time owner for the Texas Rangers. So
Absolutely. Which player had the most hits in the 1980s? Was it Tim Raines, Wade Boggs, Robin Yount, or Ricky Henderson?
it's got to be either Boggs or Yount, I think, because Yount's prime was during that time. All these guys, I believe, had 300 or 3,000 career hits. Excuse me. Who was the first one again that you
Tim
mentioned?
Raines.
Tim Raines. Okay. Raines also had a pretty solid career. I don't think he ever got to 3,000 hits though. So it's tough. Boggs made his debut in, let's see, I think he made his debut in '83 or maybe '81. I'm not sure. There's a tough one. I'm going to go with. Let's see. I'm sorry. Can you repeat the options one more
Sure.
time?
Tim Raines, Wade Boggs, Robin Yount, or Ricky Henderson?
I'm gonna go with Robin Yount.
Robin Yount?
Yep.
It is Robin Yount,
Yep.
yes, who had 1,731, more than 90 more than second place, which was
Yep.
actually Eddie Murray to close out the 80s. In what year was the first World Series held? 1873, 1903?
1903.
Didn't even need to hear it.
Won by the Boston Red Sox against the Pittsburgh Pirates.
You are correct. Do you remember? Do you remember how many games it was?
9.
9. There you go. Look at that. So you are cruising on your way here. Question number 9. Which of the following players was not a member of Major League Baseball's first Hall of Fame class? Was it Babe Ruth, Cy Young, Ty Cobb, or Christy Mathewson?
Mathewson definitely was. You said Ruth, Cobb, Mathewson,
Cy Young.
and Cy Young. Cy Young definitely was as well. And then I think Babe Ruth was, so that leaves Ty Cobb, correct?
No, it
Or
was
could-
actually Cy Young.
Oh, okay.
Cy Young
that
was,
wasn't my official answer yet. I wasn't done.
Oh, sorry, my
No,
bad.
That's just me making an excuse there. But yeah, okay, that makes sense. Cy Young, he was ahead of actually all of those guys in terms of pitching career. But yeah, I mean Mathewson was definitely in that first one, and that makes sense. Cobb and Ruth, of course, some of the pioneers in the game.
Not bad. 6 out of 10. Certainly better than I would have done. And again, just some of the amount of things that you know are ridiculous when it comes to the major leagues. Some of these referenced quite a bit here. Still waiting. Still in a delay. Still waiting on a. They said it was going to be as simple as just getting the gear switched around. I'm thinking it's a little bit more than that.
Must
so,
be.
and the real question right now, I think that I have at least, is will Joe Boyle be comfortable coming back into this
Right.
game? It looks like he is going to come back in as he's throwing down there with Mike Rothenberg, but you know, he's had to wait for quite some time, and it's not quite like the scenario we saw with I'm trying to think, was it Seymour that had to? I think it was Seymour
Yeah.
that had the game. The rain came in,
Against
and then
Katuitt, yeah.
yes. So after the rain delay, was unable to come back in and pitch again. Nothing quite that drastic, but we're still waiting on the umpires to get back out here, and quickly running out of content to deliver to you guys. Let's give you a quick scoreboard update from around the league as we check the old Twitter. After 4 innings, the Brewster Whitecaps are still knotted up at 0 apiece. They are currently taking on the Falmouth Commodores. A few other games going on in the league right now. It'll be Orleans and YD. That game just getting underway. And then, of course, the Bourne Braves in Game 2 of the doubleheader are up 1-0 on the Hyannis Harbor Hawks, who took home a victory earlier. So it was a big week in NBA news.
Right.
As, a big Woj bomb dropped yesterday at
Yeah.
about 1 a.m. And Kawhi Leonard and Paul George will be going to the Clippers. So that was a big move that I don't think a lot of people saw coming. And we may bring in our very own Clippers expert, Alex Weiner, here in a minute. Talk that if things continue to go, as we're still waiting on the umpire. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have some more content for you. It's the Harwich Mariners and the Wareham Gatemen sooner or later when we come back here on the Mariners YouTube network.
Welcome back to White House Field as we are finally back underway after a lengthy delay in action. The Mariners with a 3-0 lead over the Wareham Gatemen. And it's an 0-2 count with one away to Matt McLean. And Joe Boyle heads back out despite having to wait for a while, so we'll see if it shows any signs of rust here in the second. 0-2 just misses outside. It looked like a waste pitch, 1-2.
And he was cruising after getting Del Castillo to fly out. A 0-2 count worked very quickly on Matt McLean, but now he'll have to go back to work here. Again, you mentioned we'll see how he feels.
1-2 is bounced foul.
Goes with a challenge fastball down. I like that as Boyle not afraid to go back into the zone here and attack. His team has given him some run support here.
If you're just joining us, this is game 2 of a doubleheader. It will go 7 innings. The 1-2 is in there for a called strike 3, so Boyle not letting up as he delivers his 3rd strikeout of the game, and there are 2 down in the second.
And I guess the question would be at this point, how long is Joe Boyle going to be allowed to go in this game? Because if he continues looking as dominant as he has so far, I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't bring him in for more outings. Of course, at the University of Notre Dame, he was used as a reliever, so, you know, not necessarily a guy that's going to be on a strict innings limit.
His first pitch to the DH Dallas Beavers on the outside corner for a strike. Beaver from UCF, Central Florida. Team that would, or a school that wouldn't hesitate to call themselves a football school now, is that one's also on the corner to make it 0-2.
Yeah, it would also claim to be national champions, although that would be untrue on both counts. But definitely a football school.
The 0-2 misses up and away, and been putting a few guys to the NFL over the last couple of years, including third overall pick Blake Bortles, taken by the Jaguars. Of course, his starting job in a bit of jeopardy with Nick Foles in the mix in Jacksonville now. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Beaver with 2 down. The pitch from Boyle is swung on and missed, strike 3. Joe Boyle with 4 strikeouts in 2 innings so far. And after 1.5, the Mariners lead the Gatemen 3-0. Take another quick break, but once we come back, the Mariners will head back to the dish. You're watching Harwich Mariners Baseball on the Mariners YouTube network. So after what seemed like an eternity, the Mariners will finally get another chance to head to the plate as they scored 3 times in the bottom of the first, which seemed like forever ago. Nico Cavadas with a 3-run home run. It'll be the 7, 8, and 9 hitters due up in. Tyler, definitely a huge piece of 2-out hitting by Cavadas way back at the first.
Yeah, and we continue to say it, but 2-out hitting has been where the Mariners have done a majority of their damage over the past couple of games. So most of the time that's cause for concern, but Mariners just keep clicking along, and it's worked for them. Really quickly, Brewster has taken a 1-0 lead that game in the bottom of the 5th. So Harwich really rooting against them today and hoping that Falmouth can pull off the victory. And now Mike Rothenberg will have a chance to step in. And this game was on pace to go really quickly. The first inning flew by, and it seemed like we were in store for another quick one, but things are going to be stretched out a little bit here as Harwich has had to wait. Now Rothenberg couldn't get the donut off the bat there, finally gets it, and now steps up to the dish.
You mentioned Falmouth and Brewster playing each other. The Mariners will actually be in Falmouth tomorrow afternoon. Second trip they make to the Commodores. They lost on opening night against them way back on June 10th. And the first pitch to Rothenberg misses low in the dirt for a ball.
And if you think it's been a while since Joe Boyle's pitched, it's been even longer for Michael Webb, who's had to be waiting on the bench the entire time, so he'll come back out and try to get back into a rhythm here.
There's a line drive into right field for a base hit, so Rothenberg not fooled by that fastball, and he yanks into right for a leadoff single.
And that'll bring Tyler Keenan up for the first time today. He did not participate in Game 1, but Harwich is really getting to Michael Webb here early. And it's not like Webb has been any kind of a scrub at this point in the season either. He comes into this game, as we mentioned, with just a 3.0 ERA, and through the 2 games that he pitched in, he had only given up 3 hits and 1 run. So he's already given up 4 hits and 3 runs, and we're not even 2 innings into this one.
Pawtucket, Rhode Island native in a bit of trouble in the second, just like the first, and he gets a fastball over to Tyler Keenan for strike 1. Keenan homered the last time these two teams played, at least prior to the first game of the doubleheader, that game in Wareham. A 3 RBI game for Keenan, and he'll rip that ball foul to make the count 0-2. Tyler Keenan out of University of Mississippi, Ole Miss. One of several SEC guys on this Mariners roster. And the 0-2 is swung on in. Keenan got just a piece of it to stay alive.
And I'm pretty sure, not 100% sure, I'm pretty sure 4 of the 5 Power 5 conferences are represented here on this Harwich team. You've got Duke and UConn from the ACC. Or Duke from the ACC, I should say. You've got Texas Tech for the Big 12.
The 0-2 misses just outside.
Yep, you got LSU and Ole Miss for the SEC. I don't believe there are any Big 10 guys on this roster. Oh, that's right, Cam Bauman from Iowa.
Line drive off the glove of Baker, and it will get into right field. A great effort by Darren Baker, but it goes off his glove, and it's going to be back-to-back singles to right to lead off the home half of the second.
So how about that? Another hit there. Tyler Keenan coming through, and there are only 3 guys so far that haven't gotten a hit off of Michael Webb, so another LSU product in Hal Hughes will come to the plate. And the 5th conference that I'm missing here, Colin, we've already established the Big 12, the Big 10, the SEC, the ACC.
Pac-12?
Pac-12, of course. And, of course, that's Jacob Polish from Stanford. So all 5 of the Power 5 conferences covered here by the Harwich Mariners.
So first and second for Hal Hughes. He takes the first pitch in the dirt, and you have to wonder if, despite not having the best of stuff before the delay, if this delay has affected Michael Webb's command in the second.
It certainly might have.
7 and 8 hitters both reaching on singles, and now the 9-hitter Hughes looking to provide some run support. He waves at the second pitch of the at-bat, evens things up 1-1.
A couple of the tougher ones to identify on this Harwich roster. Are you familiar with the conference that Elon plays in?
Oh, I had a friend who actually went to Elon. I couldn't tell you exactly. I think it's some, as the pitch swung on and missed, I think it's something like the something Southern Conference.
It is I believe it's the Colonial. Yeah, it's the
Colonial,
Colonial
that's right.
Athletic Association.
Yeah.
And then the only other one that could be tough for you, are you aware of the Missouri Valley Conference, where Connor Seckler hails from, at Missouri State.
A lot of gems in some of those smaller D1 schools that find their way to the Cape. There's a fly ball out towards right field. Starting back and coming in to make the catch is Rudick. The runner will tag into third safely as Mike Rothenberg. So it'll be runners at the corners with 1 away at the top of the order due up for the Mariners.
Yep, it's a productive out there for Hal Hughes, and Tyler Keenan may have thought about taking second there, but coming in and faking the cutoff was Selm.
Number 10 is center fielder.
So Dylan Noisy, his second plate appearance in as many innings, flew out to right to begin things for the Mariners in the bottom of the first. Rothenberg, the runner, at third. Keenan at first. 1 away in the bottom of the second. First pitch just misses.
Yep, Noisy coming off of another impressive 2019 campaign at Texas Tech, and one where he had to fight through some injury, tweaked a hamstring during the Big 12 tournament and missed some time there, but he's back and hopefully healthier than ever.
There's a hard ground ball through for a base hit. Coming in to score is Rothenberg, and it's an RBI single for Dylan Noisy as he comes up big for his first RBI as a Harwich Mariner, and it is 4-0 Harwich.
Tell you what, Harwich might want to put an application in to transfer to the West. I mean, at this point, they have just been tearing through Western opponents. Still a lot of baseball left to be played here, but you like your chances with runners on first and second, one away, and Joey Weimer coming up to the plate.
Right now, nothing doing in the bullpen for the Gatemen, so right now it's Webb's mess to try to get out of. 2 on, 1 away. First pitch to Weimer is outside. Weimer singled and came around to score on that 3-run home run by Cavadas. So he looks to continue what's been a strong day for him at the plate. The 1-0 in the dirt, and Webb really starting to struggle to keep pitches up as everything seems to be either low in the zone or completely in the dirt.
Well, part of the reason why we see Wareham make fewer adjustments between Game 1 and Game 2, they've only got 3 extra guys on the bench, as they only hold 12 players that are position players.
2-0 is on the outside corner for a strike. Mariners coming into this one 9-12, but as you mentioned, a lot of success against the West, 8-5 on the season, compared to just 1-7 against the East. They also are 6-5 here at White House Field, looking to improve that to 7-5. As Weimer with a big, wild swing, he comes up empty to make it 2-2.
Yeah, Weimer made one to chase Nico Cavadas into the 2-home run club as he took a big hack at that one, but came up empty.
Tyler Keenan at second, Dylan Noisy at first. 1 home in the inning for the Mariners. Webb's 2-2 is hammered into right center field. That's going to get into the gap. That's going to score at least one. Cavadas coming in. Here comes Noisy. He's being waved around, and he will score. It's a 2-run double for Joey Weimer, and the lead is up to 6-0.
So just to give you the update, Joey Weimer today, 4 for 4, 2 RBIs, and an intentional walk. Not a bad day for the guy. He's really been getting it done like crazy, and 2 more runs come across. It's now a 6-run Mariner lead.
So 3 in the first and now 3 in the second so far for the Mariners, and now the Mariners go into their heart of the lineup. Daniel Cabrera singled to right back in the first inning. And he's got a runner in scoring position in Joey Weimer. First pitch Cabrera swings at is out of the strike zone, but he chases after it, 0-1. 4 hits and 3 runs scored in the inning. Hit total up to 7 for the Mariners, and what's been their best offensive game. They're on pace at least for their best offensive game of the season. And that one misses low.
Yeah, it seems like we haven't seen an outburst like this out of the Mariners in quite some time. Maybe not since that game against Hyannis here at White House Field.
Lefty Cabrera waiting the 1-1, and it's fouled straight back. Cabrera out of River Ridge, Louisiana, going to LSU. Comes into today with a .265 batting average. The lone home run against Hyannis, and 5 RBIs, 4 of which coming in that game against Hyannis, where he had a 3-hit ball game, finishing a triple shy of the cycle. Also has 3 steals on the season, so showcasing a little bit of speed here and there. And Cabrera swings underneath another one, and that will get out of play.
Yep, so Cabrera doing a good job of just fighting it off, a 1-2 count, and he'll stay right there as he'll live to fight another pitch, but the Mariners may not be done yet. Runner in scoring position, plenty of speed out there on second base in Joey Weimer, and only 1 out.
Webb looking to battle back and get a big out number 2. A look at second and the 1-2. Swing and a miss, strike 3. It was a nice looking off-speed pitch from Michael Webb, and he records his first strikeout of the ball game, 2 down.
Yeah, it looked like Cabrera may have been sitting on a fastball there, and he did not get that, as this will bring up Christian Fetko for a second time today.
Fetko flew out to center, but it was a relatively productive out as it moved up a runner, 90 feet. Didn't really matter, though, because Nico Cavadas ended up chasing home 3 total runs on the 3-run bomb. He sits in the on-deck circle and hopes that this inning can continue, and Fedco looking to keep a hitting streak going. Webb from the stretch, a look at Weimer, and he misses outside with a ball. Fedco playing against his brother yesterday, Kyler. Was actually able to participate in 2 of the outs recorded on Kyler, including a double play ball. The 1-0 is swung on and missed. I'm sure he definitely gave Kyler a hard time following that game.
Yep, but at the end of the day, Kyler got the last laugh as Bourne was able to hang on to a 3-2 victory. But Kyler did win the Fedco Bowl, and we will actually not be seeing Bourne again this year.
Both teams splitting that series at 2-2. 1-1, and that is on the outside corner. And actually
Bourne will come. Yeah, no, Bourne
that's
will,
right.
you and I had the same thought.
Yeah.
Bourne will come here one more time. We will not have to go to Bourne again.
Right.
And for the Harwich Mariners, I mean, they go to Falmouth tomorrow. After that, only 2 more road games against the West. One at Katuitt, and the other will come against the Wareham Gatemen to close out the season.
The 1-2 is fouled off to the right, and that one will get into the crowd. And finally some action in the Gateman bullpen is got a lefty warming up for them. It's Austin Weiermiller. But for now it's still Webb's ball game, 1-2. Weimer on second, 2 away. And 6 home through just under 2 innings for the Mariners. Webb with the 1-2. And Fedco with a lengthy at-bat able to foul that pitch off into the bleachers.
And it is a cool but still muggy and a little breezy evening, as precipitation obviously causing that. But about 75 degrees at first pitch of the first game. That's dropped down to about 73 now. Clouds covering the entirety of White House Field today.
So it's a 1-2 count once again. Fedco awaits the pitch. That ball's hit well out towards center field, but heading back is Ward, and he comes down with it to retire the side. But the Mariners double their lead, adding 3 more, including a big 2-run double by Joey Weimer. After 2 full, it's the Mariners 6 and the Gatemen nothing. You're watching Harwich Mariners baseball on the Mariners YouTube network. Welcome back to White House Field. Fans, learning at Curry College extends beyond the classroom and is embedded in all that they do. Curry prepares students to engage in successful careers and active citizenship with a global perspective. Explore undergraduate majors, minors, and concentrations, including new majors in accounting, biochemistry, and software development. Online at www.curry.edu.
So after scoring 3 runs in each of their first 2 innings, Harwich will head back into the field where Joe Boyle will get a 3rd inning. The longest outing he had at any point this season was 2. But he has been used as the starter today. And Colin, you and I kind of wondered if they were going to use him like an opener or on short rest, but not short rest, but on short notice. Seems like they're going to leave him out there, and why not? He's looked fantastic so far. At this rate, he may surpass the innings that he has pitched in any one game as a fastball will miss high and away.
And I mean, it makes sense. He's faced a minimum so far. The lone batter that reached was via a walk, and he ended up picking off Braden Ward at second. He's also mixed in 4 strikeouts as well.
Boyle will bring another fastball home, and struggling to catch up to that is Benjamin Sems, who steps in for the first time in this game. Sems back in game 1 had a single in the second and then went over 2 with a pair of strikeouts. So he could potentially strike out for a third time today. First time in this game. So we're here in game 2 of the doubleheader. Harwich winning the first one 2-0. This one will miss high and outside. Another fastball off the plate, and Boyle falls to 2-1 here.
Yep, the wind definitely picking up. You see the banners out in right field kind of flying around.
Wind right now blowing out to left field. The 2-1 pitch. That's a fastball that'll miss high and outside, and the count is 3-1 here on Benjamin Sems. It's been a good year for Sems, one of the better hitters down here at the bottom of the lineup. Hitting the 7-hole today. He'll stand in the 3-1 pitch, and that misses well outside. So it's the second walk of Joe Boyle's season, and once again, it'll be a leadoff man aboard with nobody out here for the Wareham Gatemen.
Yeah, and this is a huge test for Boyle. See if he can once again come through with the task of stranding that runner, or perhaps even getting him out while he's on the base paths. And double play ball would be vital for the Mariners to get out of this inning.
Still plenty of time for the Mariners, and still a 6-run lead. Nobody up in the Harwich bullpen right now. Boyle will bring his first pitch home, and that one is going to be a called strike on the inside half to Mike Antico. So with an 0-1 count, Boyle will go back to work. He's been out of the stretch this entire time. Comes to the belt, brings home the 0-1. That one is going to be raked into deep right center field, but coming in and making the catch is Dylan Noisy for the first out of the inning. And Colin, that's the risk you run when you pitch with the velocity that you have with Joe Boyle. It's coming off the bat just as hard.
Yeah, and that's a perfect example of it right there, because that ball didn't seem like it caught the perfect part of the barrel, but you said it, the way that ball was coming in from Boyle's hand, second across the plate, even being jammed a little bit, Antico was able to put a good charge into it, but luckily the speed of Dylan Noisy able to track that ball down deep in the gap in left center.
So here comes the first at bat of the day for Matthew Rudick. First pitch he sees is fastball that'll miss outside for ball 1. Rudick was the only guy who did not play in game 1 to find himself in the lineup here. He replaces Tora Atsuka, who went 0-3. It'll be righty on lefty here. Boyle comes to the set, kicks and fires. A little secondary lead there for Benjamin Sems. Causes Rothenberg to pop out of his crouch, but it'll be a 2-0 count.
Now you mentioned Rudick replaces Otsuka, one SDS guy replacing a University of San Diego guy.
So with a 2-0, Boyle comes to the ready, kicks and fires. That's going to be fouled away as Rudick also struggling to catch up to that. We haven't seen the changeup as often here from Joe Boyle, pretty much throwing straight gas right now, but boy, if he starts mixing that in, going to see a couple of guys swinging out of their shoes.
And once again, you could always try to get that ground ball, and when you throw hard, if you can get someone jammed, it can create maybe a double play ball.
Swing and a miss to the fastball high on the 2-1 there, and Matthew Rudick has even the count at 2-2.
That's the other thing with the ball coming off the bat hard. If you throw hard, is even if you're really fast, it might be tough to beat out a ball that you hit right on the screws at a second baseman or shortstop.
Here comes the 2-2 pitch. Check swing, strike 3, and that's going to be out number 2 for Joe Boyle. It is strikeout number 5 for him, and look at the top of the order again as Braden Ward, who reached on a walk, will come up for a second time today.
That looks like Boyle hasn't had much trouble with fatigue so far. He looks like he's been the same guy in all 3 innings. You know, the couple walks here and there, but it hasn't really hurt his command, especially of his fastball. And as you've mentioned a few times, the Gatemen just having so much trouble catching up to it.
Well, and here in the Cape League, a lot of guys transition from the bullpen to a starting role. For Connor Seckler, the team's ace now, he hadn't started a game since high school prior to coming to Harwich. Fastball in there for a called strike 1 on the outside part of the plate, and Boyle gets ahead of another hitter here as Braden Ward tries to reach base for a second time today.
And Ward was actually able to swipe second before being picked off, caught between second and third for a pretty big second out.
Runner's going to take off. Boyle brings it home, but how about that? Benjamin Sems could have just run a risk of getting thrown off there, because Boyle could have stepped off the mound, but he didn't see him take off, and Sems is in there at second.
That's a problem with being a righty. Sometimes you don't have that luxury of being able to throw over as a lefty.
1-1's going to be fouled off back behind the Harwich bullpen, so it's a 1-1 count here.
Yeah, what I was saying is throwing over as a lefty without having to step off, of course. You just have to lift that leg and then immediately move right to first. But as a righty, you got to step, pivot, throw. It's a much different task.
So Boyle trying to get out of this. A 1-2 count here. So he's gotten ahead of another hitter and Braden Ward. Ward stands in, ready for the pitch. Boyle checks the runner to second, brings it home, and that's going to be fouled just over the Harwich bullpen. Everybody ducking for cover.
Looks like there might be a little bit of rain in the forecast tomorrow, but it sounds like it might be early, so hopefully the field able to stay dry in Falmouth and we can play another baseball game.
Boyle will look Sims back to second. The 1-2 pitch. That's going to miss high, and the count is even at 2-2.
And of course, for the Mariners, that's definitely not a game you kind of want to have pushed back, it being such a long road trip. You'd like to get those out of the way now and enjoy the home of White House Field as we get later into the season.
Here comes the 2-2. Swung on and very weakly contacted. Rothenberg's going to have to pick it up. It's like a bunt, but he throws to first in time. And what a grab by Cavadas at first to end the inning. So that'll do it. They're able to get a runner on, but nobody comes across for the Gatemen. When we come back, Harwich will look to keep their bats hot. They're already up 6-0. All that and more when we come back. You're listening to Harwich Mariners Baseball here on the Mariners YouTube Network. Welcome back to White House Field. Tyler Henry alongside Colin Casey, and after an excellent pitching performance out of Stanford pitcher Jacob Polish for the Harwich Mariners, Wareham's going to go to the pen and find a Stanford arm of their own. It will be the teammate of Polish and Austin Weiermiller, who comes into this game with a 6.75 ERA. So it's been a tough go for him through 4 innings. He's given up 2 hits, 3 runs, all of them earned, and has struck out 4 compared to 5 walks. So control issues abound, and not necessarily the same thing as Wareham throwing in the white flag, but wanting to get a different arm in there as Harwich was just completely dominating Michael Webb.
Yeah, just a tough outing for Webb, who's been pretty good this season. I mean, I'm sure the goal wasn't for him to go extremely deep in the game, as he hasn't really gone very far, regardless, just in 2 games going 3 innings total, so he's kind of just a short relief pitcher. But, you know, just not his day. 2 innings, and he got roughed up, giving up 3 runs in each of them, so we'll see if Weiermiller can kind of keep it at bay, and who knows, you know, weirder things have happened. Maybe the Gatemen can get hot with the bats. We've seen them do it this year, 15 runs yesterday, so they're going to need some good pitching to stay in this ball game.
So Austin Weiermiller comes in here, sophomore out of Stanford, and another shorter guy at 5'11", not that short, pretty standard, but it'll be Nico Cavadas coming up to the plate, who had the 3-run home run back in the first inning. Got the Harwich Mariners on the board first, and since then they've tallied for 3 more runs. First pitch he sees is going to be a little floater. Not sure if that was a changeup or what, but very slow. And Cavadas may wish he had that one back, but it was out of the zone. The 1-0 pitch, and that's going to miss a fastball outside. Count is 2-0 here.
Yeah, I'm sure that Weiermiller saw what happened last time pitch was grooved to Cavadas. He's being extra careful to him in this at-bat.
Here comes the 2-0. That one's going to miss low, and he's fallen behind Cavadas 3-0 right now. In high school, he set the school career record in ERA, wins, and strikeouts, where he had 328 Ks through his 4 years of high school. This one's going to miss to Cavadas, and he's going to start the Mariners off with a 4-pitch walk served up to order.
Yeah, it looked like Austin didn't want any part of Cavadas in that at-bat, but, I mean, it doesn't get much easier. You look down the lineup, Rothenberg and Keenan coming after Ludwig, who's up now, both with singles, both with runs scored, so right now it's just kind of, you can't really escape anyone in this Mariners lineup because everybody's hitting the ball hard.
So it'll be Mike Ludwig digging in. He's already 0 for 1 today. Grounded out. First pitch he sees is going to be in there for a called strike on the outer half. As Nico Cavadas over there on first, nobody out, and Harwich able to get the leadoff man on here for a second consecutive inning. Ludwig ready for the 0-1, squaring to bunt, and that's going to be up and caught by the catcher. He'll throw to first, and they're going to double off Cavadas to clear the bases. A series of unfortunate events as Ludwig popped it up. Adrian Del Castillo was able to go, make a sliding catch, and then throw to first to double off Cavadas. And now it's going to be a 2-out situation for Mike Rothenberg. How about that?
Yeah, great defensive play there by Del Castillo, hustling over and just kind of snow coning that with a diving effort, and then great wherewithal to throw to first and double off the runner Cavadas.
So Rothenberg will watch the first pitch miss outside for a ball, and yeah, it looked like a golden opportunity for Harwich to maybe score a few more runs here. Instead, it's going to be a double play. The 1-0 pitch, that'll miss high and away, and Rothenberg finds himself falling ahead here. Already a base hit and a run scored for Mike Rothenberg today as he watches for the 2-0 pitch. Here comes Wire Millers, and he will tip that one foul back into the glove of Del Castillo. 2-1.
Be interesting to see if Wire Miller's given a substantial amount of innings in this one, given the deficit.
He's been working out of the stretch all day. Here he comes from the belt. That'll miss high and away, and you'll see the control issues as he is not putting it very close to home plate on a lot of these pitches. Really struggling to locate in the zone. 3-1. Green light's going to be on for Rothenberg. Here comes the pitch. Fastball down the heart, and Rothenberg swings through that one to fill the count.
Yeah, it looked like he might have pulled the string actually trying to catch Rothenberg way out in front, and that's exactly what happened. Rothenberg a little over anxious up there.
3-2 pitch on its way. Rothenberg swing and a miss, strike 3, and that's how the inning will end. So Harwich gets themselves in a good position to start it, but a double play finishes it off. We head now to the 4th inning. Harwich riding a 6-0 lead. You're watching Mariners baseball here on the Mariners YouTube network. Still no action in the Harwich bullpen, so that means Joe Boyle will come out for another inning of work. And Colin, could we see starting pitcher Joe Boyle going forward maybe if this experiment works out?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what's going on. I mean, he's been effective whatever role he's been in. Been almost unhittable out of the bullpen, and so far he hasn't given up any hits in three innings today. Walked a couple of batters, but hasn't really affected him that much. He's been able to strand those runners, and we'll see how well he goes in the 4th inning. I mean, will he get stronger or will he start to struggle as he goes further into the game?
We'll find out. He will face off against Darren Baker, Jacob Teeter, and Adrian Del Castillo for a second time. And just as I say that, there are arms now up and warming in the Harwich pen, so this may or may not be the last inning here for Joe Boyle, but he's faced just one more than the minimum. He's walked 2 guys, has yet to give up a hit. He's added 5 strikes up on Katuitt by a score of 4-3. At last check, the Brewster Whitecaps have had their game tied up. They were up 3-0, but a home run, a 3-run bomb by the Commodores ties that game at 3-3. And Hyannis is hanging on for dear life to a 1-run lead over the Bourne Braves in Game 2 of the doubleheader. They already took Game 1, so bounce back. Harwich won Game 1 of their doubleheader as well. Here they're up 6-0 to the defending champions and current best team in the West, the Wareham Gate. Going to be
Hawks.
Yeah, both of those teams trying to push each other into the basement. Big swing and a miss at a high fastball for Darren Baker, and He's got to shorten up on the bat a little bit here. Already struck out once looking back in the first inning.
Baker's father, Dusty, with over 1,800 career wins as a manager with the Giants, Cubs, Reds, and Nats.
This one's going to be hit foul down the line. So the count stays at 2-2.